talk about that some other time?
Yeah,
okay.
David, what you doing?
Okay, couple things. I wanted to, since we talked a little bit about TV shows. Game of Thrones season 6 ended.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
How have we not talked about this?
I'm not going to spoil anything.
Right?
Yeah, I'll get that one on the next one. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on what you thought season 6 was, because there's been some. I should say this. Was like throughout the season, it seemed like some people were a little upset with the show. They've taken a lot of the show is kind of. It used to have this. It was really grounded in like. In composition of characters, and because the show is ending sooner rather than later, they've had to the speed of the show has had to. I mean, you're at 11 now, right? One of the things about the show was that it was kind of methodical, right? Like you'd be like, oh yeah, that character, we haven't seen them in forever. Whereas now it's like,
I don't see how people could knock the show for that.
And the other part is like some of the characters are moving through the world a lot quicker, and time is not the timing is not specific.
I have an explanation for that. Anyway, I think this is the best season of Game of Thrones.
No way.
Yeah.
Be out of your mind.
No. It's the best season yet.
I don't know which season is the wedding season, but that's the best season.
3, I think.
That was the best season.
Just because of that one episode?
Yeah.
No. That one episode doesn't define a whole season.
Yeah, it does, because I've never had a moment watching a show like, characters die on the show, and you know that. Like, that's what the show's all about. No, I know it, but I meant I had a feeling like someone I knew died.
I had the same feeling this season.
I didn't. I know, but that I didn't have the same. Again, characters die all the time. We're not ruining anything. We're not going to say which character died, but I agree, but it wasn't the same feeling because it wasn't as visceral.
No,
it's really
I agree
the
with
word.
that,
the wedding scene is like, holy moly, mother of God. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you know what we're talking about, even if you don't watch the show.
No, but I was surprised at things that happened more, and not because like I don't get spoiled. Like I know to avoid the internet around Sunday at 6 p.m.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know what to avoid, so I don't get spoiled for any of this stuff. But I was surprised at the story events and stuff more this season. Like, oh no way! What? This season more than any other season.
Yeah, but there's still, I guess.
Those are the kind of moments of TV that I enjoy.
Yeah,
I think Chicka-Jung moments at the end of every episode.
Yeah, and then I think of the other issue that I have with this season is sometimes it felt like TV writing and not book writing, which probably makes
I can see that.
some sense, because there's some characters who are like, look who's back for no particular reason.
Yeah. But the show's always been different than the books, and as the more people realize that, the more they'll get used to it.
No, but I think, and it might be just because I know it's not based on the books anymore, or at least not directly based on, a piece of literature that's already written. Because they're in talks with George R. R. Martin.
Yeah, of course.
But
they already know how it's going to end up.
We already know it's going to be dragons versus zombies. That was what it was from the beginning, which is fine. Like, that's what I want.
Now, about the time thing, like, I was frustrated as well.
Yeah, basically,
But
we're not going to ruin anything, but it seems like certain characters are traveling. All of these storylines that are going on in the show are supposed to be happening concurrently, but sometimes it seems like characters take a long time to get somewhere.
Well, George R. R. explained this, and I haven't read the books. I read a little bit of the first book and got bored, and
They have a portal gun. Done.
Well, so there are chapters in the book. Each chapter, it's a point of view book. So each chapter is like, this is Catelyn.
Yeah.
This is Ned. So they're all telling their points of view. Now, these chapters can cross days, weeks, months of time in one chapter. And then they go to the next chapter, which is a different character, and then now they're back to where the other person started.
It's the idea
that's the exact same thing as the show.
stories aren't running concurrently on the show.
That's do they really want to see Varys eating lunch on a boat to be? Oh, he's heading there. He's heading back. You know what I mean?
I agree, and that's fine. And again, I part of it is like I don't get mad about it because I'm like, there's dragons in this show, guys. It's not real. It's not real.
Well, it's not even that. Like I don't need to think some
fantasy.
supernatural thing. It doesn't matter. He got there and he got back. These people just traveled there.
I think people are saying that it feels more like a show and less like a book, because a book has the ability to take time and play out important events where sometimes TV shows don't. It's a visual. Right. I mean, it's a different. I forget there's a terminology about it where when you're watching TV. You're not an active participant, whereas in a book you are, because you're having to imagine things in your brain, whereas in a television show you're just enjoying what's hitting your brain.
It's not just that, too. It's like you're right. It's everything's at 11. There's all meat. There's no potatoes, because they're wrapping this up, so they don't have time to show people traveling on a horse from one place to, like, nobody cares. We want to see these big story points, these people finally meeting up. We want to see developments and these stories that have been taking seasons to develop.
Was Hardhome this season? No, that was last season.
Last season, episode 8 or 9.
Every zombie movie should watch that scene and just recreate that.
Yeah, but Game of Thrones is great. Obviously, you're not watching.
This season
dumb.
also went. No, it is a good show.
Yeah.
We were talking about this because we had dinner tonight with Felicia's parents, and the violence on that show is probably the biggest deterrent for most people, I think. I think, because also the gratuitous nudity. It's like sometimes it's like
they've cut down on nudity a lot.
Well, it used to
since
be
it got like I know it got some national attention. Like, do we really need to start showing?
Well,
this?
It's like, oh, this isn't a brothel scene for no reason. Like, it doesn't provide any kind of exposition. And like, I get it. It's HBO. Like, hey, we know you're paying $14.99 a month. There you go, guys.
Yeah, and I know they've definitely cut down that on a lot, where it's like gratuitous.
Right. It reminds me of like how Playboy now is like, well, for a period of time was known for like how good their writers are. It's like, what?
Yeah.
So, but the show is also, the special effects have gone through the roof. I mean, like, you go back and you watch season 1 and you're like, ooh, you know what I mean?
Now they know how much money they can get per episode and squeeze every dollar out of that budget.
Yeah. So I know, watching the show, I know one thing that's got to be worrying HBO is like, what's next? Like, cause they're probably at a peak of like viewership and subscriptions.
Yeah.
They have to be, right? This is probably the biggest show they've ever had.
Probably, yeah.
Bigger than probably Sopranos or anything like that.
Yeah.
But another show.
It's like, it's one of those shows that, and I was having a conversation with Sarah, like, I don't know how producers or these TV show creators do this, but like, it's not like, oh, I like fantasy, I like dragons, someone watch shows. Like, no, it's pop culture.
Right.
Like, Walking Dead is another good example. Like,
right.
If you don't watch it, you don't know anything because it's just pop culture and it's everywhere. There's not a lot of shows that are like that.
It's hard. It's hard to get to that point, but it's cool. You know, I like when shows like this kind of breathe life into.
Breaking Bad was another one.
Yeah, like where it's teaching you, like, or having the pop culture, the general audience enjoy this type of, because like honestly, like this story, like this book, this is like what nerds read, right? It's it's
super high fantasy,
right? Same thing with like Lord of the Rings. Like Lord of the Rings, I remember I was a kid and I read like The Hobbit when I was a little kid, and like you were a dork, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it's like cool. So it's again best time to be alive and be a dork.
Yeah, definitely.
Another thing that I'm watching on HBO for my Whatcha Doing is Any Given Wednesday with Bill Simmons.
I thought you said Sunday.
No, Any Given Wednesday. It comes on Wednesday. It's a play on words.
Oh.
Okay, so if you don't know who Bill Simmons is, he used to work for ESPN in Grantland, which I think
heard about this new show.
Yeah,
I didn't know it came out already.
It's only 2 episodes. So it comes out every Wednesday. It's a sports show, pretty much. Bill Simmons is known because he was on ESPN and also on Grantland. I think he started Grantland, which is like a wing of ESPN that has more op-eds. So it's more opinion, and I mean, it's more, that's probably the better. It's less about like, here's the free agency news. And it's more like,
this is what I think about the free agency
This is what I think about the NBA's current. And so he is very brash. Brash?
Isn't that, did he get kicked from
He
ESPN?
got fired for it. Yeah. He always had a problem with the higher ups, which makes sense. Well, because he if you watch his show now on HBO, like he's the reins are off. Like
hold all the punches.
No, he doesn't, and it's great because that's why he's enjoyable. You know, and so I'm glad that the format's almost the same. He used to have a podcast called The BS Report, which is a great name. And he would have like his cousin Saul on there, and like it was like some of the funniest conversations about gambling. All he would talk about is gambling, which is like ESPN is like they're sports, but they don't like, you know, you don't want to be like gambling. Yeah, it has a connotation. But he's great. He used to have a show with Jalen Rose, who's a former basketball player, and they would just the stuff they would talk about. They would have a thing on the show constantly like "Don't get fired," like it was hey. Don't get fired because you're about to say something. Don't get fired. Yeah. Well, Bill got fired and he found out on Twitter, I think. Like that's how much. So all the executives, except I think the president of ESPN, had his back, which is the guy you want, right? But then eventually he said, "Yeah, you're too much trouble," and they said, "We're not renewing your contract." And I think they put that on Twitter, and that's how he found out, and he was pissed.
So he wasn't fired. They just chose not to renew his contract.
Which is the same thing, dude.
No, I know.
I mean, semantics, but... Yeah. So he started this new show, Any Given Wednesday. It's fantastic. It's sports, but, for instance...
Like night talk show style?
Yeah. Sitting on a couch, a little fireplace, you know, it's very, very informal. But he had Charles Barkley on there, and he's talking to Charles Barkley about, like, the funniest stuff about, like, his gambling problems, like stuff you would not talk about on like ESPN. Like they would not want you to talk about this stuff. And then he had, on his second episode, he had Ben Affleck on. Now he's a big Boston guy. He loves the Patriots, loves the Red Sox, big Boston guy. And so is,
of course,
you know, Pac the Cat, you know. So Ben Affleck comes out on there, and you've seen Ben Affleck in like interviews and stuff I've never seen Ben Affleck curse as much as he did on this. Cause he asked him about the Tom Brady Deflategate, and he was suspended 4 games, and it got overturned, then it got overturned again, and all this crap, and how they're fighting it, that it got overturned. And he was just like cussing up a storm. Like, he's like, this is beep, beep, beep. And it's just like, hey, you're like you're Batman. You can't do that.
It's HBO, man.
Yeah, but it was awesome. Like, it's just cool to see them, let their hair down and actually give their opinion. And it's like, he was pissed about the Deflategate thing, and he's like, this is garbage. He's like doing the accent, getting into it. It's just so much fun to watch those. They had Mark Cuban on the last episode, and he's like bashing owners, like how much the owners hate him and stuff like that. It's cool to have an avenue where it's kind of unfiltered, and you get really interesting interviews.
Now, I like football and hockey.
Yeah.
Would this be a show I would find entertaining, even though those are really the only sports I follow?
Well, I will say he does when football gets closer, he'll talk more about it, but right now he's in basketball mode because the Cavaliers won the championship. He's mostly, I would say he's basketball centric but he does a lot of football too. But he also does pop culture stuff. So he spent the whole thing talking about Game of Thrones, and he talks about how he's like, look, me and my wife love this show. We don't know any of the people's characters' names. We give them all nicknames. Like, you're the guy with no dick. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and he talks about like, and it's just funny because it's real. He's just talking about it.
So I'd probably like this show then.
Yeah,
I'm gonna check it out then.
Yeah, he's very satirical and very funny. And the graphics and stuff really fit well. Everything's funny. But
half hour?
I think I want to say it's half an hour. I don't think it's an hour. It might be an hour. It's one of those things that's really enjoyable, so I can't tell. Because like the interviews aren't like the normal interviews, like, so what are you going to be doing this year?
That's why I don't like
110%. It's like the crappiest, I'm taking it one game at a time, and we do what the coach says, and we all just play our part. It's like,
go out there to win.
Right. It's none of that crap. Like, he's asking really weird questions, and it's just great stuff. And he gets good interviews because I think it's HBO and they get good, guests to come on. So if you enjoy sports, it's great. But if you enjoy sports and other pop culture stuff, it's enjoyable. And Bill Simmons is just fantastic. He's very interesting. He's been doing this long enough, and now he has like the reins are off, so he can do whatever he wants. And he's like, he talks, he's like, I'm on HBO. Like, who would have thought I would have got an HBO show? Like, this is insane. So yeah, check that out. If you were asking me about a podcast that would be like NFL.
Yeah, because I used to listen to the 0600.
Well, see, that's fantasy, right?
Yeah, they stopped that, and I'm kind of over fantasy.
They didn't stop it.
No matter.
You stopped it. They still do the 0600.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the fantasy focused podcast on ESPN.
Yeah,
they still do it. Well, everybody but Matt Berry left. Well, quote unquote. There's still Stefania Bell, but she's on there every once in a while for injuries. But the problem is the podcast had like a really good like composition of people.
Yeah.
Like Matt Berry never shuts up, and then Nate Ravitz would always be like, "Shut up."
And now he can just go on and on.
Yeah,
I couldn't stand it.
Right, and that's the one thing. Like Matt Berry's not a good host. He's a good like.
And my thing is, listen, I listened to a couple fantasy football podcasts throughout the years.
Yeah.
It doesn't help me. I'm still terrible. So like, I'm over that. But I want to listen to a good when football season starts. A good football, yeah.
The one I would recommend. I mean, it's still ESPN, but it's their Football Today. They get into like deep stuff though. Like they talk about like salary cap stuff, about how you like make your team, like executive stuff, which is fine. If you want to watch something more like general, as long as you listen to it, because when football comes around, all the other sports don't get talked about. You know that, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Like, I like the morning shows, like Mike and Mike in the morning. Do you ever watch that?
Mm-mm.
Mike Greenberg and Mike Golick.
Nope.
That's a great one. They're funny. They've been doing it a long time. They've been together forever, so it's good banter,
Yeah.
But I mostly stick to ESPN just because I don't know. There's probably a ton of like Yahoo has everyone has a football podcast. We should start one. Geez. But yeah, I would say Football Today. Check that out. See if you like it. Last thing on my What You Doing was another. You talked about Overwatch, so I'll talk about another game I've been playing. The Witness. Who's it made by? What's the guy's name?
I don't know. I forgot his name. Joe. I want to say Blow. It's definitely not Joe Blow.
Jonathan Blow.
Okay.
Jonathan Blow.
So it is Joe Blow or John Blow.
John Blow. Holy crap. This game has like got its claws in me. It's one of those games where I told you it was like super frustrating because it's a puzzle game. But then I get to a point where I'm like, I have this part in my brain that's like, you told me like, just move on. If you don't get the puzzle after a certain amount of time, like just move on. I don't have that.
You have to.
No, I'm like, no, we're going to brute force this. Like we're going to figure it out.
You have to, because you're not supposed to brute force things.
I just do.
Or you're going to get to the point where you're looking at stuff online.
No, see, the thing I can usually figure out, sometimes what the game does is it's like, I figure out the solution, but it's the path to get to that solution. Because it's all line puzzle, so you're drawing like figures with lines.
You
like
can't
shapes.
say that.
What do you mean?
I've figured out the solution, but not the solution.
Well, the part of it is like you have to get from A to B. Like think of like a maze, like a hedge maze. You have to get from the start to the end. But within that hedge maze, you have to draw stuff. And I can draw stuff, right? And I can get the shape that I need to make within the puzzle. But then I can't get I'm tracing back, so I can't get to the exit point correctly.
Yeah, that's
which I get what
you haven't done the solution yet.
Shut up. You know what I mean. I understand. It's just part of it's like two parts. It's like having to understand what the puzzle should look like at the end, and then how to make it through the puzzle and get to the end.
The only thing that tore me away from that game, because I played it like consistently when it came out, was when Fallout 4 came out.
I could see that.
So that's why I haven't played back. I haven't gone back into it. I should though. It's definitely a good. It's almost like Zen-like playing that game.
It is. And then it's like tension. Like it's like squeezing your fist. And then the reason why the game is so great is when you finally figure out the puzzle, you're like, I am so effing smart, man. I am like the smart. No one else got this.
Really? I feel the opposite way. I feel like I've been working on this puzzle for an hour. I'll go back. I'll come back, fresh eyes, solve it. I'm like, I'm an idiot.
Oh, see, no, I don't get that. Because like, Portal had a couple moments in that where like it seems so impossible, and then it finally clicks. Mm-hmm. But this game teaches you a language. Like it's almost teaching you a language that it's not holding your hand. It would be the equivalent of learning a language by like having a textbook of that language, and the whole textbook is in that language. And you're slowly learning it on your own, which is so satisfying. Because you're like, it's like Rosetta Stone. You're literally like, oh my God, I got it. That symbol means that, and that symbol means this. Because it teaches you things in a very unique... I don't understand how he made this frickin' game. I know it took him like 4 years.
A long time.
Like,
and over budget.
Bravo. Because like, he's teaching you a language in his game, which is, no game does that anymore. It is very aggravating because if you've ever like taken a Spanish class or taken any kind of foreign language class, it's super frustrating, especially when it's like, I remember when I got to like Spanish 3 or Spanish 4 in high school, and the teacher's like, we're not going to talk in English anymore. The whole class. It's like, what? Like, what? No. It's like, no, if you have a question, you need to ask me in Spanish. Like, ¿cómo se dice this?
French too.
Oh,
French
my God.
1 was like, oh, we're going to learn French 2, day 1. Not going to talk English.
That's what this game is.
Gerald.
But that's what this game is, because there's no like cute little assistant that comes around with you and says, oh, you're doing it wrong. Do it this way. Maybe you try this.
Which I like. I love that.
No, I agree, but it's like, that's different, man. That's not how games are made anymore. And I've heard him talk. The dude is super pretentious. Like, the problem with the creator is...
He's kind of a dick.
He is. But he's smart, so it's like...
Yeah.
Good on you. Apparently there's things in this game where like the tree, if you like look at it a certain way, it'll like show you a face of like a young person, then you move around it and it'll be the same tree, but the opposite perspective will be like an old person. It's like little things like that aren't a puzzle. It's just part of the game. But the only problem I have with the game is like I've picked up a couple like tape record audio logs and stuff like that, and it's just like quotes of like weird stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm like paying attention because like in this game, this is one of those games where, like, pay attention to everything. Like everything matters in this game.
Kind of.
So the part of this game that I'm having a frustrated part with is not just the puzzles, but like, is there an overarching story?
There is, and I honestly couldn't tell you what it was.
Okay, because I want to pick it up, and I'm not picking it up when it's laying down, but maybe I don't have enough of it yet. But it's one of those games that is so satisfying and yet so frustrating that it's like this devil angel thing in my head. Because I'm like, there's so many other great games, board games, video games that I could play that are just easy fun, but they don't give me the same aha moment that this game gives me. But it's frustration to satisfaction.
But you'll enjoy the game a lot more if you step away from these really hard puzzles.
No, and I have, but it's...
There's so much stuff on the island. Obviously, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Just to look at. And then there's other puzzles. There's so many different kind of puzzles, and the way they do these... It's just line puzzles. But the different ways they do them is crazy. Cool.
Okay. Well, that's our 2 What You Doing. Let's give away some more stuff.
Cool.
All right. We'll do another set, and then we'll get on to our next part.